Here are 6 things you can do to live longer. Okay, so before I start, let me start off on a biological note. I'm going to explain this in the way that my brain works because I'm not necessarily a scientist. I am to a degree, but not the kind that it would take to understand this. At the end of your DNA, you have these things called telomeres. And the longer the telomeres you have, the faster they're going to replicate cells. The shorter they are, the slower they replicate cells. Now, eventually, those telomeres are no longer or are so short that the cells stop replicating. This is why we age. This is why we die. So the younger you are, typically the longer the telomeres. The older we are, typically, the shorter the telomeres. Now, here are things that you can do to maintain the length of the telomeres. How'd I do? Anyone want to comment on that? Am I wrong on that? That's how I understand it in my mind. Okay, I know telomeres exist. I know what, most of what their function is, but I don't know if I explained that right, but it makes sense in my head. The problem that we run into as a society as we live in the great US of A, and our culture, our society, all that, it's decently toxic. We're trying to combat it. We're trying to become better people and understand some of the concepts I'm about to bring up. We're trying to understand those better, but we're not quite there. And so there are these things called blue zones. And if you don't know what they are, some researcher was investigating where people live the longest in the world. And I read a book on it called Ikigai, something like that. And it's about Okinawa, Japan. So what happened is this researcher found where people live the longest and circled it with a pen that was blue. And now you have blue zones. Now these people are living up to 110, 112 years old. And people are like, man, I don't want to live that long. You're bed bound. You can't move. No, these people are going to parties. They're playing sports. They're out in their garden all the time. It's a good book. I highly recommend it. And some of these concepts do come from that book. There are a lot of other books and research that I've done on this. And like I said, I'm going to explain this the way my brain needs to explain it because I can't go into all the details. Plus, this would be like a 25-minute video. I'm not doing that to you. I'm not doing that to me. I'm just not going to do it. The first, number one thing is food. Remember, whatever you eat, your body not only has to digest that, but that's where it gets its nutrients. So if you're eating junk all the time, you're going to start seeing it in your skin. You're going to start smelling it in your smell and the grease in your hair. If all you are doing is eating garbage, eating this junk, well, your body's like, all right, I guess this is all we got. You're not absorbing it through your feet. You're not absorbing nutrients through, your eyes necessarily or through your skin, although you can do that. You're not, metamorphosis or maybe sublimation, whatever. It's not like you can just put something healthy in your hand or on your head and then you absorb it and now you're healthy. It's what you're eating and drinking on a daily basis. Obviously, we have Friday night pizza night. No, that's not obvious. But obviously, if you do this one time, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Or 2 times or however many times. But if you're doing it, it's about consistently or the phrase is more often than not. If you're eating garbage more often than not, you are not getting the nutrients you need. You will eventually shorten those telomeres. So the first one is food. And the reason that our society is so toxic is because they don't have necessarily fast food, health fast food or organic fast food. I mean, there are places that have that, but it's typically McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell, the grade D, the stuff you shouldn't be eating, but it's like, I'm in a hurry and I gotta shorten my telomeres or whatever. You probably don't say that to yourself, but that is what's happening. So the first one is food. So you do have to be intentional with your food. Intentionality is probably going to be one of the best things that will save you in your life. Live intentionally. But that's for another time, another discussion for me to go into how to live intentionally. So, first one is food. All right. Second one, exercise. Exercise is probably the single, if I was going to put one thing, if I had to choose one thing on this video, it'd probably be exercise. I don't know why I saved it for second. This is no particular order. That's not true. The last one is extremely important. But exercise, continuously moving. Don't just go home after work and sit down. I'm so tired. Well, that's just going to make you more tired. And when you exercise, you're actually exercising your brain to release endorphins that actually make you happier, help you think more clearly, help release stress, right? And that's a big one because that's going to be on this. It's actually the third one I'm going to go into, but I'll get into that in a second. So if you are not moving, right, scientifically, an object at rest stays at rest. Eventually, your muscles don't need to be used. And then your bones get weaker because your muscles aren't supporting them as much. And then your heart is a muscle, and then it's not pumping as well as it could have. And maybe by the age of 50, 60, 70, you're just like, man, I'm tired all the time. Don't get there. Don't get there. 20-minute walk. Walking is free. Go outside and walk. You can walk in a city. You can walk in the country. You can walk anywhere. Okay, you don't need exercise. You don't need any equipment for that. Let's say you can't walk. Okay, move your arms, right? Do something, gyrate, vibrate, something like that, but just get moving. So the next one, to bring it back, the next one is stress. The more stressed out you are, the more you release this stress hormone called cortisol that actually depletes testosterone for you guys out there. So, and it reduces your ability, by the way, to lose weight. So if you're trying to lose weight, but you're stressed out all the time, good luck with that one. Good luck. You could probably almost starve yourself and still not lose weight because your body's like, I'm stressed. I don't know what's going to happen next. I got to hold on to as much potential energy as possible. And so when you're stressed out, you're releasing this cortisol that burns out your adrenal glands, puts you in the fight or flight. You're constantly tense. You're all this stuff. Your telomeres are getting shorter and shorter through this. So releasing stress via exercise, through meditation and prayer, right? Finding hobbies that make you feel that you're alive, make you, enjoy life, right? If you're constantly in a state of stress, which we are in America, I think the average work week is what, like 55 hours? Compare that to some other countries and then be like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with us? Why are we working so hard? By the way, we are the only animal on earth that has to pay to live. I heard that the other day. I was like, that almost makes sense. I'll go with it for a little bit. I mean, it's not completely true. Other animals pay to live because they have to hunt daily if they're out in the wild, or they get hunted. We're not really being hunted anymore. You know what I mean? For the most part. Drugs and alcohol. Marijuana just got legalized within, recently. And alcohol's been legal. These things destroy your body, especially if you're doing it consistently. Every now and then you kick back and have a beer, whatever, cool, great, wonderful. There's no real benefit. Everyone's like, it cleans out your stomach. Well, there's other things you can do to clean out your stomach rather than, ingesting a toxin. How about that one? So if that's your only benefit, oh man, if that's the only reason you're doing it, you might want to find something else that helps clean out your stomach. Okay. But there really isn't any benefit. And people are like, well, it helps relax me. Yeah, not really. It feels relaxing, but it's not really relaxing you. It's poisoning your body to, make you a little drowsy. I guess it's a form of relaxation. I think it was a dude from the Mighty Ducks. You remember that movie? Goldberg. He got addicted to meth. So you see him as a kid, and then you see him as an older. And he's not that much older than me, so 40, he might be 50. He looked old. he looked like he was well into his 70s at the age of, late 40s, early 50s. Something like that. So it ages you. And we know this. People who smoke, their face gets wrinklier, their, teeth are grosser, their fingernails, you fill in the blank with all that, and then with drugs, you introduce, let's say, vaping. Okay, we don't really know the long-term effects of vaping. That's a newer thing. But talking to a doctor the other day, he's like, yeah, well, we're finding that a lot of younger kids are having to have lung transplants because the vapes actually are destroying their lungs. It's like, well, that's going to age you pretty fast. You're not going to live very long if you're ingesting toxins and constantly taking drugs and all this stuff. And although, here's the problem with drugs. Here's the biggest problem with drugs. They're awesome. That's it. That's the problem with it. That is the biggest problem. There's not anything else you can really do in life that's going to make you feel that euphoric. There's almost nothing you can do that's going to make you feel that euphoric. And it's a very short amount of time. You do something, whatever it is, smoking, cocaine, meth, I don't know. Whatever people are doing, and it makes them feel like, wow, I'm on top of the world right now. There's not a whole lot that you can do. So, and then you build up, let's say it diseases the brain, right? And it's not functioning properly. What happens is that trying to get that drug hijacks your survival instincts, okay? And so instead of trying to survive, you're just trying to get that drug, and now your brain doesn't work properly. It's called a disease. That's why addiction is a disease, because that is addiction, right? Just for those who wanted to know kind of a simpler definition of addiction. But sleep is one of them, right? We live in a world right now, and by world, I mean America, our very toxic environment in which we live in. You're up all night watching Netflix or scrolling Instagram or on Twitter, trash talking the president or the previous president or whatever you guys are doing on Twitter these days. I stopped going on there. Twitter is literally someone tweets and then everyone just craps on that person. That's all Twitter is to me. I'm like, why is anyone even on this? What a horrible platform. But people are up all night doing these things, and then they're ruining your brain. And I made a video about this, but because I relaunched this channel and all that stuff, I'm going to make another one. Just the idea that you're burning out your processor anyway, right? People are staying up all night, going to parties, doing all this stuff, and they're not sleeping, which, by the way, sleep is the only time that your body actually has time to itself to rejuvenate. Right? It's trying to rejuvenate during the day, but let's say you're eating garbage all day, and you're stressed out all the time, and you're not exercising, so there's no stress release, anything like that. So your body's like, I'm trying to rejuvenate. I'm trying. Eventually, you will crash. Eventually, that's going to happen, and you need rest. And I think it's 8 hours a day. Viktor Frankl was a survivor of Auschwitz. He survived the concentration camp of the Nazi takeover, all that stuff. And he lost everything, and he had no purpose after that. And so he came up with this idea of existentialism, which is when if you don't have a purpose, you define your own purpose, because and I'm finding this to be true. I mean, research has backed this up. I find it true in my own practice, all that stuff. People with purpose are happier in life. People with purpose live longer in life. People with purpose have a reason to wake up in the morning. There's this whole idea that if you have a purpose in your life, you don't need an alarm clock. Now, I disagree with that, but I like the concept. It's like, okay, I have a reason other than my alarm clock, other than survival. I have a reason to get up and go live my life. And I myself feel that I do have purpose. And I'll tell you what, I lived my life a long time feeling like I didn't have purpose. And those were some extremely, extremely depressing times. And so to kind of reiterate the idea of purpose, you see couples who grow old together, and then one passes away, and then the other one passes away very soon after, right? That's the broken heart syndrome. What is that called? It's like it's a form of a heart attack, technically. And what happens is they lost their purpose. Their purpose is gone. So then what's the point of living at that point? And then their body's like, all right, I'm done. But if you don't have a purpose, you need to find one. You will live longer and a healthier, happier life doing so. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment in the comment section. Where else would you leave it? Please hit the thumbs up. Get the algorithm going for me. I appreciate it. Feel free to reach out to me. We have a website in the description. I have an email address in the description. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Enjoy your day. Until next time, my friends. Until next time.